All right. AI. It's everywhere, right? And you, our amazing listeners, you're diving deep into large language models. You've been sending us tons of stuff, research articles, even your own notes, all about these machines that are like writing human quality text, code, poems, you name it. But where do you even start with all this, right?
Well, the scale of these models is really the first thing that blows you away. I mean, we're talking trillions of words, trillions. That's what's used to train them. These large language models, LLMs, we call them for short, they're basically like this super advanced type of machine learning in the way they learn language. It's actually similar to how we do it, just massively scaled up.
Kind of like comparing a single dictionary to the entire Library of Congress.
Yeah.
But it's more than just mimicking, right? That's what's so wild. These LLMs are like reasoning, problem solving. It almost feels like, I don't know, a new kind of intelligence is emerging.
Yeah, and that's a question that's got everyone in the field buzzing. To really understand how we got here, we got to go back to 2017 when Google researchers put out this paper. Attention is all you need, it was called. And that's where the transformer architecture came in, total game changer.
Okay, transformer. Sounds kind of sci-fi, but I'm guessing it's a bit more technical than meets the eye.
A bit, yeah. Think of the transformer like a two-sided brain almost. It uses an encoder and a decoder. So the encoder, that takes whatever you input, like a question, a command, text, and it breaks it down, analyzes it, figures out how all the words relate to each other. Then the decoder, it uses that analysis and boom, generates the output, a response, translation, even lines of code.
So not just matching keywords or following rules someone programmed in. It's more like it's getting the meaning behind the words, right? Like how our brains jump around when we read, making connections between different parts of a sentence or even a whole paragraph.
Exactly. And that's where self-attention comes in. This model doesn't just process words like one after the other. It looks at how all the words in the input relate to each other, no matter where they are in the sentence. Picks up on nuances that older models just couldn't.
Wow. Okay, so then there's this thing called multi-headed self-attention. What's that all about?
Ah, right. So it's like having multiple sets of attention happening at once. Imagine different teams of experts, each one focusing on a specific part of the language.
So basically, one LLM has multiple mini brains all working together. That's insane. But how do we even talk to these things? I mean, we can't just sit down for a chat over coffee, can we?
Not yet, at least. We use what are called prompts. Basically, they're instructions written out in plain text, kind of like giving directions, but to a super smart assistant who's, well, really literal-minded. There's a real art to it. Prompt engineering, we call it.
So it's not just about, like, asking a question. It's how you ask it. What are some of the tricky parts of getting those prompts right?
One of the biggest things is something called inference. There's zero-shot inference, which is where you give the LLM a task directly. No examples, it just has to figure it out. Works great with huge models, but smaller ones might need a bit more help.
Right, makes sense. So what do you do then?
That's where one-shot or few-shot inference comes in. You give them an example or two right there in the prompt itself, like showing it exactly what you want.
Like teaching by demonstration.
Exactly. But you know, these LLMs, they go through mountains of data. Is there a limit to how much they can handle at once?
Good question, yeah. I mean, their brains can't be infinitely big, right?
Right. Each LLM has what's called a context window, which is kind of like its short-term memory. It determines how much info it can juggle at once. It can be a few thousand words or even tens of thousands, depending on the model. But yeah, if your prompt gets too long or too complex, things can get that lost.
Okay, so finding that sweet spot in the prompt is key. Being clear, concise, but giving it enough to work with. But what about when you need an LLM to be really good at one very specific thing, something beyond its general training? Can you, like, customize them?
That's where fine-tuning comes in. Imagine you've got this awesome athlete, right? They're good at a bunch of sports, but you want them to excel at just one. So you give them specialized training just for that sport. Fine-tuning is kind of like that extra training, but for an LLM, you use a data set that's specific to the task you want it to master.
So taking a jack-of-all-trades LLM and making it like a master of one.
Exactly. You get a model that performs way better, it's more efficient, and it's tailor-made for what you need, like going from a generic tool to one that's custom-built.
And that's what's so cool about this, right? We're not just using AI, we're shaping it to solve our own problems.
Yeah.
Now, looking at your notes here,
it
seems like you've got a ton of ideas yourself. But actually building something with these LLMs, where do you even begin?
The first thing, honestly, before even thinking about code or picking a model, define your scope. What exactly do you want this LLM to do? What problem are you solving? What are your goals? Get that crystal clear, and it'll guide the whole project.
Okay, so a clear vision of the end goal. That's step one. Like having a blueprint before you build a house. But once you know what you want to build, how do you choose the right LLM for the job? There are so many out there. It's a bit overwhelming.
Oh, it definitely can be, especially with new ones popping up all the time. Model size is one of the first things to consider. Bigger models, they're usually more capable, can handle tougher tasks, but they need more computing power, more resources.
The classic trade-off, power versus practicality. Wouldn't use a sledgehammer to crack a walnut, right?
Exactly. You need the right tool for the job. Sometimes a smaller, more specialized model that's been fine-tuned just for your task, that might outperform a giant general-purpose one. And don't forget about pre-trained models. Those have already been trained on massive data sets. Great starting point, especially if you're going to fine-tune it further for what you need.
Okay, that makes sense. So many options. But it feels like we've only just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to uncover about these LLMs.
Oh, absolutely. We're just getting started. But the good news is, with the right approach, the right resources, building with LLMs is becoming more and more accessible, even if you don't have a super technical background.
That's great to hear. So where do we go from here? What's next in our LLM adventure?
Welcome back. We're really diving deep into these LLMs now and how they're changing everything from how we write to, well, how we think even.
Yeah, it's wild, right? And we talk about them so much as these abstract concepts, but
Yeah.
they're already having a real impact, Probably already using them in some of the tools and services you use every day without even realizing it.
You're right. It's true. Sometimes it feels so futuristic we forget it's already happening all around us, quietly changing everything behind the scenes. Earlier you mentioned the size of the model matters. What even determines that size? And why is bigger sometimes better? It all comes down to parameters. They're basically these numerical values that define how the LLM behaves. Think of them like the connections in the model's neural network. And these parameters, they get adjusted during training as the model learns from all that data it's fed.
Data. So much data.
All right. And a model with billions, even trillions of parameters that can capture way more nuances, more relationships, more patterns in language. So you end up with more accurate, more sophisticated outputs.
Okay, so it's like having a more detailed map of language with billions of pathways connecting all these different ideas.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of stuck on that training process. How do you actually teach an LLM to, understand and generate language?
Well, it's not exactly a secret formula, but it's definitely complex, and it takes a ton of computing power. Basically, you feed the LLM huge amounts of data, text, code, all kinds of stuff, and you use algorithms to tweak those parameters so the model gets closer and closer to the results you want. Kind of like teaching someone an instrument, actually. Start with simple exercises and slowly increase the complexity as they get better.
So trial and error, but on a massive scale, using mountains of data and some serious computer muscle to turn these LLMs into, language experts.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how far it's come in such a short time. What's next for LLMs? What kind of advancements are we looking at in the next few years?
One area that's super exciting is models that can actually reason and solve problems better. Imagine an LLM that not only understands a complicated scientific paper, but can also come up with new hypotheses, suggest experiments based on what it's learned.
Whoa. That would change everything for scientific research.
Right. But think about education, personalized AI tutors, adapting to each student's learning style, giving them customized feedback, guidance. Education could become truly individualized, accessible to everyone.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And it's not just about scientific breakthroughs or education, right? Think about all the creative stuff. Poems, scripts, maybe even composing music. LLMs could be these awesome collaborators helping us brainstorm, refine our writing.
Exactly. And we're already seeing progress in those areas. It's like having a digital muse right there at your fingertips. But while we're looking ahead, it's important to remember that LLMs are already having a big impact today, even in ways we don't realize.
You're right. They're kind of hidden in plain sight, aren't they? So give us some concrete examples. Where are they being used right now out in the real world?
One big one is customer service. A lot of companies now use AI-powered chatbots to handle those basic questions, frees up the human agents to deal with the more complicated stuff. And these chatbots, they can answer questions instantly, walk customers through troubleshooting steps, even personalize the whole experience based on past interactions.
So it's like a 247 assistant, always there to help, makes things run smoother for businesses and a better experience for customers too. What else? What other cool applications are popping up?
Content creation is another area where they're making a splash. They're writing marketing copy, social media posts, news articles, even creative writing, some news organizations, for example. They're using LLMs to write those short, factual reports, like financial earnings or sports scores. That way, the human reporters can focus on the deeper stories.
That's fascinating. So it's not about AI replacing human writers. It's more like giving them a helping hand so they can do what they do best.
Exactly. And there are even tools that can help writers brainstorm ideas, beat writer's block, experiment with different styles. It's like having a digital writing partner right there with you.
This is blowing my mind. But with all this talk about the amazing stuff LLMs can do, we got to be realistic too, right? What about the downsides? What are some of the limitations, the challenges we need to watch out for as this tech keeps evolving?
Bias is a big one. LLMs are trained on these huge data sets, right? And if that data reflects, societal biases that already exist, the model can end up perpetuating, even amplifying those biases in its output. It's like holding a mirror up to society's imperfections.
And that shows how crucial it is to be careful about the data we use to train them, making sure it's as diverse, as representative as possible.
Couldn't agree more. And then there's the potential for misuse. As LLMs get smarter, more sophisticated, well, they could be used to create fake news, propaganda. It could get even harder to tell what's real and what's not.
That's a sobering thought. A reminder that with all this amazing potential comes a huge responsibility. We need to use this tech ethically. Be aware of the risks, not just the rewards. But even with those challenges, it feels like we're at the beginning of something incredible, a new era where AI is becoming part of our everyday lives, changing how we work, how we learn, how we create.
It's a time of incredible possibilities, but also some really big questions, right? How will this change the way we understand intelligence, creativity, even consciousness itself? What will it mean for the future of work, education, society as a whole? These are questions we'll be wrestling with for a long time.
No easy answers, that's for sure. But one thing's clear. LLMs are here to stay, and they're already changing the world in big ways.
And as we move forward, it's so important that we approach this tech with curiosity, with responsibility, and a real commitment to using it for good.
Well said. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's bring it back to you, the listener. Why does all this matter to you? How can you use what we've talked about to make your life better, your work better, or even just understand the world a little bit better?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And one that I hope you'll keep thinking about as you learn more about this field. Because in the end, the real power of LLMs isn't in the tech itself, it's in how we choose to use it.
It's like we've got this toolbox full of incredible tools, and it's up to us to decide what amazing things we're going to build.
Exactly. The possibilities are truly endless.
And we're back for the final part of our LLM deep dive. Whew, it's been a wild ride, right? From the inner workings of these AI wonders to seeing how they're already out there in the world making a difference. And then there are those philosophical questions they bring up. It's a lot.
It really is. We've gone on this whirlwind tour of this landscape that's both, familiar and totally strange at the same time. A world where language itself is being reshaped by algorithms. Pretty mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of reshaping, one thing that keeps popping up in your research is this idea that LLMs aren't just tools, they're like partners. Can you expand on that a little? The idea of actually collaborating with AI on creative projects, problem solving, it's kind of hard to wrap my head around, honestly.
I get it. It's definitely a shift in how we think about things. It's less about AI replacing human intelligence and more about human-AI collaboration, where each brings something unique to the table,
Yeah.
And together we can achieve something even greater.
So instead of being afraid of AI, like it's some kind of competitor, we should see it as a teammate.
Exactly. Think about working on a design project and you've got this AI that can instantly generate variations based on your sketches, or writing a novel and the AI helps you develop the plot, characters, even dialogue.
Whoa, that's next level. But then doesn't that bring up questions about authorship? If an AI helps create something, who gets the credit? Who owns it?
Yeah, those are big questions. And honestly, we're just starting to figure those out. The laws, the ethical frameworks around AI, they haven't quite caught up to the technology yet. It's something we need to be talking about now, especially as AI becomes more and more part of the creative process.
Yeah, technology always moves so fast, it takes us a while to catch up and figure out the implications,
For sure. It's not just about the tech itself. It's how we use it, the values that are baked into it, and the impact it has on society. It's a big responsibility.
Absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned that you don't need a super technical background to start playing around with LLMs, to start learning about them. Where would someone even begin? What would you recommend?
Oh, there are tons of great resources online. You could start with some of the interactive demos, the playgrounds, where you can experiment with different LLMs, get a feel for how they work. There are also tons of online courses, tutorials for all levels, from beginner to expert.
To just jump in and get your hands dirty, see what these things can do.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn. And don't be shy about asking questions, joining online communities, connecting with other people who are into this stuff. There's a whole community out there, people who are excited to share what they know and collaborate on cool projects.
That's awesome. But for someone just starting out, it can still feel overwhelming, right? Like, where do I even focus my attention?
I'd say follow your curiosity. What are you passionate about? What problems do you want to solve? Use those questions as your guide. If you're drawn to the creative side of things, explore the tools for writing, making music, creating art with AI. If you're more into the tech side, dive into the research papers, the open source code. Find that sweet spot where your interests and the possibilities of LLMs intersect.
It's all about finding your own path, using this tech to explore, to discover, to learn and grow.
Exactly. And as you go on that journey, remember, you're not just learning about some technology. You're expanding your understanding of language, of intelligence, of creativity itself. It's pretty profound stuff when you think about it.
It is. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next big breakthrough with LLMs, create the next game-changing app. It really feels like the future is wide open,
It is. And it's been amazing exploring this world with you and with all our listeners.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into large language models. Keep learning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep asking those big questions. Because the future of LLMs, and maybe even the future of our world, depends on the choices we make today. That's it for this episode. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.